Okay, so my mom is conscious because the furniture is also there for her. And the couch, is physical because it is there for anyone, right? It is visible to anyone who isn't blind. You can see that the way we use these signs, that they are interdependent in their functioning, right? They're a system of signs. The sign consciousness is related to the sign physical. So my mom is conscious because the furniture is there for her. Could it be that simple? I claim that it is that simple. But there's a tendency to think in terms of stuff. And there are issues that, basically the issue of time. There's this unquestioned sense of a single past, a univocal past, a universal past. And this would tempt us to think that consciousness might be the stuff that emerges. This tempts us to think of things in themselves that somehow cause internal representations. So Meiyasu, in his book After Finitude, he thinks that thinkers like me, he would call me a correlationist, that we can't accept the literal meaning of physical statements about the ancestral past. Now, to me, it's hilarious when a philosopher who I actually respect as a person, that's a book that is worth reading, but to talk about the literal meaning of a contentious and elusive metaphysical concept is amusing. Basically, what I mean, well, that's the literal meaning. Now, literal is a metaphor. You could say it's the literal meaning. So I actually am very much into the literal meaning in this sense of Bakhtin, Saussure, and Derrida. So my theory of signs is that signs are perceptual objects in the world, right? And as perceptual objects, they are perceived in a situated way. The significance of the sign is largely a function of the perceiver. Of course, the perceiver considered physiologically, right? The health of that perceiver's sense organs, but especially that perceiver considered historically, in that how has the perceiver been trained by its environment to react to those particular iterable tokens, right? So different people vaguely, intend or mean different things by words like consciousness and physical. Philosophy, it's minimally constrained by the practical world. You can basically say all kinds of wild stuff because your default mode, you will basically act pre-theoretically with a certain prudence. This is a bit like the autonomic nervous system. If you had to remember to beat your heart, you'd probably be dead long ago, right? So this pre-theoretical who of everyday Dasein, right? This pre-theoretical communal subject enacts instrumental norms. And by instrumental norms, I mean I turn a doorknob, I turn a faucet, I use my turn signal, my foot hits the brake. This happens relatively automatically. I thematically or consciously operate at a strategic level. I'm thinking of the big picture. I'm thinking of what I'm trying to do, right? When I drive the nail, if I'm experienced, maybe I'm thinking about the larger task of fitting a particular 2x4, here rather than there. So basically, skill is largely unconscious. So it's tacit knowledge, it's know-how. And this would be our primary understanding of reality, our visceral, incarnate, or bodily understanding of the world. Okay, so Meiyasu, the challenge of the ancestral object. So I think one way to meet that, which is not going to satisfy everyone right away, but to me it's reasonable, especially the more you think about it. Empirical statements that are purportedly about the past are as empirical or scientific, you might say, really about the future. So this is, not just something a wicked continental philosopher might say. This is something that C.S. Peirce said vividly and without any hesitation or shame. Why? To me, Peirce and Heidegger have this curious affinity. So Peirce, he saw inquiry. I'm going to oversimplify here a little bit, but one way to view inquiry is as, an adjustment of our policy for meeting the oncoming future, right? So you might say that the sign, the past, can be understood to indicate what is not in our control, right? Our future conduct is in our control, at least in terms of experience and responsibility. Like you might have some metaphysical theory of determinism, that's fine, but to me, I experience the burden of decision, right? So this is part of what I call the psychoanalytic component of positivistic phenomenology. I'm trying to dig under theory that is something like candy or a game of chess, and I'm trying to look at the beliefs that I enact. So I enact, you might say, a belief in my freedom just because I actually worry about what should I do. Like in some cases, I don't really know exactly what I should do. I might just be shopping and comparing two products. One is a little more expensive, but it seems, I think maybe the quality justifies the extra cost, but I'm not sure. So I hesitate, I imagine, maybe I get out my phone, read some reviews. So the future is this oncoming structure of the now, right? If you look at the now and really look at it, right, instead of just be a kind of naive scientific person who thinks that the now is a kind of instantaneous punctiform now, modeled by a real number. If you just look at the way that you live, the way that you experience the so-called now, the now has this structure of the oncoming future. You find yourself in the middle of trying to do things, trying to bring things to completion, trying to avoid pain, like when I'm driving on the interstate, I'm trying to get to the place where my wife works to pick her up. I'm trying not to be crushed by an 18-wheeler. I'm completely immersed also in the perceptual faith. I treat my perceptions of the 18-wheeler with a kind of deadly seriousness. Like for the most part, I have no living, genuine doubt that my perception is a hallucination, right? And hallucinations are so important and terrifying because we are immersed in the perceptual faith. And I'm taking this phrase from Merleau-Ponty. So the perceptual faith is really the sort of prototypical sense or meaning of the real, right? The real is perceptual. The real is, prototypically here and now, and this is why seeing is believing, right? Seeing is believing. This has been mystified into truth as correspondence. In truth as correspondence, it's really harmless in everyday life when you're ultimately talking about seeing is believing, right? You told me there was ice cream in the freezer. I go to the freezer, I don't see it. I look up and down, there is no ice cream in the freezer. So what do I believe more? The signs that somehow pre-sketched the situation for me or my own eyes? So typically, we trust our own perceptual reports basically more than anything. Though perhaps you can program some human beings, or they have this fanatical need to cling to some spiritual political belief. In extreme cases, we may actually overrule these perceptual reports, right? Seeing might not be believing. We may refuse to see. We may refuse to hear.